Hi everybody, it's Maureen Wong from mycasestudies.blogspot.com. A long time ago I shared with you Cindy's templates, and they were used for stamping words in a circle on your card, and I haven't used them pretty much since. And today I got the idea that you can stamp an image in a circle, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. Let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna need some supplies. I've got my stamps from Clair. And this one is called Be Kind, and I'm going to be using a couple of different stamps from this set. And then this is the Butterfly Kisses, and I'm going to be using this sentiment, Enjoy Your Day. I have my Mini Misty today, and it actually fits my project today. So whenever I can fit it in my Mini Misty, I'm going to pick that one every time because I have such a small area of clean space on my desk that it's just really easier to fit the Mini Misty in that space. If I'm doing a larger project or I'm using more stamps that I want to keep on my Misty, then of course I'll use my original. Or, you know, if I'm doing something really crazy, I can even break up my Memory Misty, which I haven't shown yet because it just barely fits on my table. But anyway, so I've got my Mini Misty out. I've got a couple of ink pads. This is Daffodil from My Favorite Things. I also have a hexagon of Daffodil cardstock. And the hexagon die that I used to cut this is from Lifestyle Crafts. And then I have my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I have my Creative Corners. I just have one of the corner ones. And then I have a Sharpie white extra fine point paint pen that I'm going to use to accent a little bit. And I think that's all for now, so let me get started. The first thing I'm doing is using this big honeycomb kind of image, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp it on. And you know what's funny is first time when I got this project out, I thought, well, that's not going to fit. I can't use my Mini Misty. Although actually it will close. But then I thought all I have to do is turn it this way and then it totally fits. So remember to look at your shapes. If you're using shapes especially, see if you can turn it a different way if you want to fit it in your Mini Misty. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, but in this case it actually did. I just had to turn it. So anyway, I have my, and I'm going to actually turn my Misty this way too because I want to look at it a certain way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this on the edge, or on the corner actually. And then what I want to do is actually kind of line it up with the edge of the stamp so that I'm getting it kind of straight so that the stamped hexagons kind of match the shape of the hexagon. And then I'm going to pick that up, and it's going to take my shape with it, but that's okay. And then what I'm going to do is just hold it down with this corner piece, and I'm going to take my Daffodil ink and ink that up. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, if it's not, that's cool, because it's sort of an interesting thing like that, because you don't want it to be like, this is a honeycomb. I'm just sort of giving the impression of this is a whole bee honeycomb thing. So I want to stamp it on this side. So all I'm going to do is turn my hexagon over. And when you're using a hexagon or any kind of shape that has a point that you're using to line up your card, your piece, you don't want to shove that into this side. You want to make sure this is flat against this edge here, but you don't want to shove it into this edge and dull that point. So I'm just very gently putting that in that side, and then I'm going to hold it down with my Creative Corner. And again, I'm going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm going to stamp it down, and if it's not perfect, that's fine too, like that. And what I'm doing is just giving a little bit of background interest to my card here. I don't want it to be a focal point, that's why I did it tone on tone, and that's why also I'm not stamping it perfectly. then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and show you how I got back out my templates. This is Cindy's template. You haven't seen me use this in a really long time because I just haven't felt like stamping words in a circle. But then I got this idea and I thought, you don't have to stamp words in a circle. You can actually stamp images in a circle on your piece, and it doesn't have to be on a circle. I'm actually using the hexagon, and I'm not using the base template. I don't even really know what I did with it now. I had it just a second ago, but you know, that's my messy desk. But I'm not using the base, the cardstock template. I'm just using the overlay because this is actually my base. I'm going to turn this base so I don't need something to stick my piece on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this in place, and actually let me take out just a regular magnet for this. To hold that in place, and then I'm going to put my template, and I actually put a little bit of ATG on the back at one point, and bits of it have stuck onto my template on my overlay, so it's gonna kind of stick to my cardstock a little bit, just enough to kind of hold it in place. And so that's centered, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my bee image, and I'm using, there's two bee images in this Be Kind set. One is the straight one and one is the curved one, and I thought it's perfect to use this curved one because I'm stamping in a circle on my hexagon. And if you don't know how to use this template, I will link in my down below and in my blog post the videos using this template series. This is Cindy's templates. But if you kind of remember, this triangle here is where you're going to want to put your image, and then it's going to repeat on all those sides. So I don't want to put my bee all the way up here over my triangle. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see this better. I'm not going to want to put my bee all the way up here because then it's going to overlap on the front and the back of it. So I'm going to want to move it down at least to there, and maybe in this case I want it a little bit further out, just a tiny bit further out, and I'm kind of trying to match the curve of the bee to the curve of the circle, and right there I think is great. So I'm going to close my cover and pick up that bee. And I can put my overlay aside, and then I'm gonna get in my creative corner again just to hold this in place. And I can actually use, you know, a whole number of magnets if I want to be super sure. And then let me zoom back out so you can see the stamping. And now I can actually turn this so you can see it a little bit better. And I'm gonna use my VersaFine this time. This is my VersaFine Onyx Black, because I really want some nice black lines on my bees. Oh, and I can't use my corner there because my bee is going to stamp on it, so let me move it over here, and I'm just holding it down. And I'm going to stamp my bee right there, and I want to make sure I get a really nice image, and that actually, it's a little bit spotty, so I'm just going to ink up and stamp again because this is the Misty and I can do that. So I'm just going to stamp that again, and that is perfect. And, oops. I'm going to actually not use that. I'm just going to turn and use my regular magnet for now. The creative corners can work. Not all of them, but some of them can work in the Mini Misty, but they're not exactly meant for it. And look what I did here. You have to remember to turn it all the way. I didn't turn it all the way. See, because it's supposed to be like this, lined up on this flat edge, and then I just turned it like a half turn and lined it up on this edge. So you have to make sure you do that full turn so that the straight edge that you're lining up is always the same straight edge on this side, and the point is always at the bottom. Otherwise your bees aren't going to stamp in the right place every time. So now I'm just going to ink that up again and stamp it. And I got a really nice image that time, so again I'm going to turn it, and remember, not the half turn, the whole turn, so that this edge is lined up and this point is on the bottom. And I'm just going to keep on going around like that, so let's speed this up a little. Okay, so that's the last one, and I hope you can see my daffodil ink is kind of fading a little, and so it's really looking like part of the background, almost like this is maybe a pattern paper kind of thing. But I really like that soft look in the background. And so now the last thing I need to do, and remember we're going to turn it that way, not the other way, and I'm going to take off my bee. And then I'm going to get my sentiment from the Butterfly Kisses set, the Enjoy Your Day. And I'm going to show you how I line this up. Okay, so I wanted to show you one other thing you can do with the creative corners. And I've got the L piece, and normally the L piece is actually too large to fit in the Mini Misty. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can use it simply to line up your stamp sentiment, and so that it's straight, and it's actually going to be a little bit different from what you might have been told before in other Creative Corners videos, that to line up a sentiment you need to have either the bottom or the top straight, and you can see that this sentiment has neither the top or the bottom straight. But what it does have is it has this word your, enjoy your day, and the word your is pretty straight. So what I'm going to do is, let me zoom out so you can see how my L is. My L is just hanging off, but what it is it's butted up against this side edge, and even though it's hanging over the edge on the bottom, it is lined up on this side, so I know that this line is straight across, and I'm just going to hold that there. And then my little tip is, instead of putting your sentiment on the cardstock and then trying to line that up straight, I'm actually going to put the stamp right on my L template, and I'm going to line up the bottom of the word your. Let me zoom in, hopefully it'll, there it goes, it focused. So I'm going to line up the bottom of the word your with that top straight edge of the L. And that's how I'm going to line up my sentiment straight. So I'm going to pick this up and look at it because the angle is bad and I don't want to poke my head into the shot. And I can see that that is nice and straight, and it is stuck on there because these are photopolymer stamps and this is clear acrylic. It sticks down to that L ruler, and then I can just put it, you know, I can move this up and down, and as long as I keep this edge straight, this edge on the side, which you can't see now, let me zoom out. As long as I keep this edge flush against that side, I know that this is going to be straight. And then I'm just going to center it where I want it to go, and then I'm going to close my Misty cover on it. And I can just double check, and does that still look straight? Yes, it does. So I'm going to get my VersaFine Onyx Black ink pad and stamp that down. Of course, the other thing you can do once you stamp it or put it on the cover is, wow, that's just not focusing at all. Let me show you. Hopefully that'll focus. There we go. You can see that the your actually lines up with the grid line in the cover of the Misty. So you can actually double check it that way, that once it's down, yes, it is straight. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to open up my cover, make sure my piece is placed correctly, and I'm going to, but actually, you know what I just realized is that that's not where I wanted my edges lined up with my sentiment. I wanted those stamped honeycombs. Sorry, I have to get my stamp chamois so I can clean this off, because I'm actually gonna move it, because I just realized the piece is in sideways. I need to do my sentiment sideways too, because I want those at the top and bottom like that. So I'm gonna get my piece again, and it's the same thing. I can do it this way. You see that? And it still doesn't fit in my MISTI, but I can still do it this way. So again, I'm gonna line up the bottom of that your and stick it down. I'm gonna put it up to my face and check it, and that looks nice and straight. And I'm gonna move it up and down, figure out where I want it to go, and then I'm gonna pick it up. Okay. And then I can go back in and check it against the grid lines, and yes, that looks very nice. I'm gonna hold that down, and then I'm gonna ink up my stamp. And stamp that down, and it is perfect. Okay, so you don't need to watch me finish this. That's pretty much the meat of my demo today. But the other thing I wanted to show you, if you're interested, is I got a couple of comments on how on my last card I put some white accents, and they look nice. I like the effect it gives it, and I've seen other people do that, kind of put like highlight lines and dots and things on their work to give it a little more interest and depth, because it looks like, you know, it's three-dimensional. It has this light to it, or I don't know, whatever. But anyway, it's kind of hard to do, to me anyway. So I just do stuff that's simple. I am just gonna go around each bee edge, and I'm gonna put a paint line like that. And I really like this Sharpie paint pen with the extra fine point, because the ink flows really nicely, and you gotta shake it up before you use it. But a lot of people use the Signo pens, and I just cannot get my Signo pens to work. So I bought this off of Amazon, and it pretty much works every time with no prepping, no, you know, like, you don't have to go super slow like you do with the Signo. I just really like it. So anyway, that's just a little extra touch, and if you want, you can actually highlight some of the honeycomb bits, even though they're part of the background, and maybe put some dots, or, you know, whatever you want to do. And then to finish it off, I'm just gonna cut a card base into this same exact shape and mount it to it. So there we go. I have a card base. I just got a folded piece of A2 size card and cut it with the hexagon die, of course leaving this edge a little bit in from the cutting die so that it wouldn't cut all the way out. So I have a folded card, and then I just mounted that piece right on top of it. And I'm really all about clean and simple cards these days, so I'm just gonna leave this as it is, and there you go. So I hope you like this idea for stamping images in a circle on your works, and that you'll go get out your Cindy's templates if you already have them and put them to use again. So thanks very much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.